Hello, listeners, and welcome to the holiday season. This month, we will have a slew of Christmas-themed stories to tell, culminating into a crescendo, if you will, of holiday mayhem. But before we begin, I would like to remind you that you can receive bonus and commercial-free episodes through our Patreon site. The cost is lower than your extra-large Coca-Cola from your interdimensional gas station, and your contribution helps us continue with our research. Now on to why we are really here today. This week's research file delves into the mind of a very troubled man. A man who is having a hard time understanding who he really is. And each side of him is warring for the spotlight. So let's start out this holiday month by listening to a diary entry from Foster Chylds. Strap in tight. The trials are about to begin.
Dear Diary, it's me again, Foster. Now I know it's been some time since I have written a passage for you, but things got really complicated there for a moment. I mean, you should know. We spoke about it in my first diary entry so many years back. And I knew then that I was a monster, or that some monster lived inside of me. I just didn't understand what that monster was until I started killing. And I did a lot of killing. I get flashes of my victims every now and then, the looks on their faces. My ideas of immortality and power by stealing what was inside of them. I can't really explain it in great detail other than that every time I cut, dismembered, and pulled out organs, a glow would appear over their body. It was like watching the northern lights dancing across the sky at night. And every glow had a different color. And I would consume that glow, bit by bit. Sometimes, that meant eating the glowing piece in front of me. Other times, the glow would just be absorbed into me. There really wasn't an indicator to tell me which methodology was the best. It was something I had to feel out. And once that glow was consumed, I began to feel renewed. Like the void of all-consuming power within me was beginning to fill and grow. And it was something I just had to do. And I can tell you now, I liked it. I liked it a whole lot. But then I was caught and chemically put to sleep inside of Logan's mind. But even then, he could still feel that void inside of him. And because of this, Merrick Ogletree was released on the asylum. I know that can sound confusing. Merrick was the Happy Time Killer, and I was Foster Chylds. Two separate people, right? Well, come to find out, that is incorrect. I suffer from DID and MPD. The two used to be confused back in the day, but psychology has come a long way since then. MPD, or multiple personality disorder, allows for me to have different alters living inside of me at any given moment. They fight for control of my body and my mind. And for a long time, that struggle was won by Foster. With Foster being the prominent identity, most of what he did was remembered by me. But then came Merrick. He was an alter who fought for control constantly. And when he won, he would wreak havoc for months. And I would be completely blind to his doings. Ipso facto, the DID. Merrick killed just the kill. But from the previous passages I have in this book, I guess you already knew that. So back to the asylum. At the time, everyone knew that I was Foster, Logan, and Merrick all in one. The state knew I was dangerous, and rather than just killing me outright for the things I did, they decided to lock me away and study me. I became the lab rat and the wonder to psychology, and their greed for knowledge was their eventual downfall. They underestimated Merrick's intelligence and his will to be free. So he staged an escape. He found a way to alter the electricity within the building that would leave our door unlocked at night. He knew how to evade the cameras, and he knew what injections and pills were the ones keeping us down. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that he had changed things for us, and he took the power within us to always stay in control of the situation. He would scheme at all hours of the day, locking our body down to keep up appearances. Then he would take control to spin his words on the others within the facility. And we all know how that ends. And now that we are out, Merrick wants the reins back so he can have his fun. And Logan and I have decided that we are going to set him free on the world. I mean, 'tis the season of giving, right? But first, the void is calling me, and I need to feed it.
Are we awake now?
Yes.
Then let's begin.
Merrick Ogletree stepped outside. A biting cold hits his face, and he has to close his eyes due to the sun's reflection off the snow. He spreads his arms out wide, as if to embrace the world, and a large smile forms on his face. He takes in a deep breath.
God damn, it's good to be free. And look at that snow coming down. So thick and moist. That's what she said. Oh shit, it's been a minute. Foster and Logan had been out here having so much fun together, and I have been in the corner like a cuck, just jerking it while the others get all the action.
Merrick taps his temple hard.
But now you fuckers have to sit back and watch me work. And on this glorious holiday season, I've had so many fucking plans. Everybody's getting a present under their damn tree this year.
A man, all bundled up from the winter's cold, rounded the corner on a narrow one-way street and saw Merrick standing outside, only in his underwear and his arms outstretched. His body was riddled with scars and deep black welts. An immediate sense of fear and disgust caused his steps to falter. He couldn't understand why this man was out here nearly naked in below freezing temperatures while snow was falling all around him in the streets. Maybe the man was on drugs or something. Or hell, maybe the man was just enjoying life. Something he hadn't been able to do for years now. So who was he to really judge? Rather than cross the street to get away from this odd individual, the man decided that he would just take a wide berth in front of him on the sidewalk. As he got closer, he noticed that the drugged-out man was tapping his head and talking to himself. Okay, he was definitely not mentally sound. So he took an even wider path from the man as he started to pass him, almost to the point where he was falling off the curb and into the street. And unfortunately, with the snow littering the ground and piling up quickly, the man ended up slipping on the edge of the curb, rolling his ankle, and falling backwards. With his hands in his pockets, he had no way of catching himself, so he knew that this fall was going to be of epic proportion. And it was going to be done right in front of the man he was trying to avoid. Just fucking perfect.
Whoa, buddy, whoa. You almost took a bad fall right there. Luckily, I was here to catch you. Here, let's get you upright. There we go. Now, I'm not one to believe in fate, but I think you were sent to me today. Or I to you. It's all relative, I guess. But that is besides the point. What are the chances that I would be standing right here, enjoying the freedom of this day, with the snow falling all around me and the wind kissing my body, and you, a man bundled in clothing that, well, it just looks like it's my size. What are the chances that you would just fall right into my arms? Literally. I would say those chances are pretty goddamn low. Not only that, the probability gets even lower when you realize where we are at. On a one-way street, abandoned by bustling traffic, devoid of any person, and in a city where no one gives two fucks about how loud you scream.
Merrick snatched the man by his front jacket and yanked him forward. He kicked at the closed door behind him, almost knocking it off his hinges. As it swung open into the abandoned storefront he had been calling home for months now. The man began to scream and plead for anyone to help him, but Merrick knew that his cries for help would be unanswered. Foster had taken 3 people in here, and not a single one had their calls for help heard or heralded for help. But to be safe, Merrick dragged the man to the center of the shop past the set of double swinging doors and into the kill room. There were pieces of people everywhere, and the smell was out of control. It really doesn't take a body long to start decomposing and stinking up the place, even when the weather outside was below the freezing point. Merrick went over to the stainless steel prep table and swept his arm across it, smearing congealed blood and viscous matter everywhere as fingers, genitals, arms, and other body parts fell to the floor. The man, now in his other hand, was able to take a brief reprieve from being dragged along the store and obtain some sort of footing. He started to fight back, pulling as hard as he could from Merrick's grip and slamming his fist down on his forearms. But his attempts of escape were useless. He was nothing more than an annoyance, a fly buzzing in and around, landing, and then flying away. Once the table was cleared of old body parts, Merrick grabbed a knife from the corner of the table and swung it around at the man, placing it firmly right under his chin. The man's body froze in fear, his eyes widening, and a sickly sweet aroma of panic escaped from every pore. Merrick could almost taste it, and it made his heart flutter in anticipation.
Now, if you want to get out of here alive, you're going to listen to me and do exactly what I say to do. Do you understand?
The man gave Merrick a quick nod up and down in the affirmative, the blade slightly cutting into his skin and producing small dribbles of blood.
Good. Now these people around you didn't listen to me, and this is what happened to them. I don't want that to happen to you, so I need you to take off all of your clothes and neatly fold them and place them on that clean counter behind you. Yes, that one over there. And when I say all of your clothes, I mean all of them. You need to be as naked as the day you were born. Once that is done, I will allow for you to walk out of here. Can you do that for me?
Again, the man nodded his head in the affirmative and began to speak. Merrick quickly placed his hand over the man's mouth, the old and rotting blood that transferred from the table to his hand smearing onto and in the man's mouth.
Shh. No talking. That wasn't something I asked for you to do. Only to undress and place your clothes on the counter. I will step away now and let you get to it, but I warn you, do not try to run. I am much faster and stronger than you, and I will catch you. And if I do, well.
Merrick stepped away from the man and stretched his arms out wide, as if in a display of the carnage around him. He had made his point with this man, and he knew it, but he needed for him to really understand what would happen if he failed to comply. The man, nodding once more, took the scarf from around his neck and folded it, placing it on the clean table near the door. Then came the jacket, shirt, shoes, socks, and pants. The man, now only standing in his underwear, stared back at Merrick, a look of uncomfortable fear on his face.
I said, all of your clothes. What? Are you scared of me seeing your penis? We both have one. So what's the big deal? Oh, maybe it's a size thing. Maybe you are scared that I will see that you have a micro and I will laugh at you. Listen, it's just a piece of your body and nothing to be ashamed of. Here, I can take mine off too if it makes you feel more comfortable.
Merrick reached down and pulled off his underwear, exposing himself to the man, his member beginning to swell from the excitement of the situation he was in. The man's eyes grew large in seeing him exposed the way he was. Merrick smiled back at him.
Well, I guess if you do have a micro, after seeing something like this, you would be more than a little scared to compare units. But I did ask you to take off everything. And if you are unwilling to do that, then I guess it's the old chopping block for you.
With a speed that was inhuman, Merrick lunged at the man, grabbing him by his throat. He began to squeeze as the man let out strained, gasping noises. Merrick felt the muscle in this man's neck begin to give way ever so slightly. Then came the audible popping noises of the victim's windpipe as it started to collapse under the pressure. His eye started to bulge from his head as pressure built up and his lips changed the shades of blue and purple. Blood vessels along the bridge of his nose and around his eye socket began to burst, reddening and then blackening the skin around them. Merrick lifted him from the ground with one hand and walked him over to the preparation table. He slammed his body down hard and flat on top of the table, the man's head bouncing from the force. Then Merrick began to squeeze harder and harder, the noises being made from the man's neck, and his choked cries were like a symphony to his ears. He felt his groin begin to get hot and feel the blood becoming fully erect now. He began to breathe in deeply as he watched the man's life slowly begin to drain from his body. Then there came the snap, the man's neck finally giving way to the gorilla-like strength and force being applied to him. Merrick watched as the light in the man's eyes faded. He watched as the man's face spasmed, the brain sending electrical signals to the only places it had access to now. It was too much for Merrick. His body let go as the excitement hit its climax. Breathing heavily and with weak knees, Merrick released the man's throat and stepped back from the table.
God damn, what a fucking mess. I haven't been this excited for a kill in a long time. I guess it has been a while.
Merrick walked over to the man's clothing and began to dress. He chuckled to himself as he began to realize that this man was his exact build, all the way down to his shoe size.
My God, what are the fucking odds?
He turned and began to walk over to the man.
This really was serendipitous. Our meeting. It was like you were placed in my path just for me to start my work again. Well, Merry fucking Christmas to me.
Merrick reached out with his bare hand, giving the dead man a couple of soft slaps on his face.
But I am not done with you just yet. I have to leave my calling. The people need to know that I am back.
Almost an hour later, Merrick emerged from the abandoned storefront. He sliced his left hand with one of Foster's scalpels and cupped the pooling blood. With his pointer finger, he dipped it within the blood and turned to the storefront window. He began to draw and write. Satisfied that his work was complete, Merrick picked up some of the snow and began to clean his hands. It was cold, but it was cleansing. He produced some gauze and sterile packaging material and bandaged his hand up. With that, Merrick turned from the building and towards the bustling streets. There were only 24 days left until Christmas. and he had presents to wrap and place under the tree.
Happy, happy, the world is happy when I am free. Happy, happy, the world is happy when I am free. Happy, happy, the world is happy when I am free. Happy, happy, the world is happy when I am free.
Thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. If you would like access to the interdimensional radio station, you can search for the Nightmare Trials on Patreon. Once there, it is only $2 per month to gain access to our extra short stories and chat discussion with the professor. Your contribution helps us continue to do what we do. Further, you can go to the nightmaretrials.square.site and order merch and suggest to be a part of one of our stories. We would love nothing more than to add your name to our writings. Lastly, make sure to follow the podcast and hit the notification button so you never miss an episode. Until we meet again,